My husband said he wanted closure with his ex, just one coffee, just to reconnect. I told him it made me uncomfortable. He said I was overreacting, insecure, that it wasn't about feelings, just a loose end. He met her anyway. 2 hours later, he came home smiling. I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked his phone, and that's when I saw the message she sent. It started over toast. That's the part I still can't get over. He said it so casually, like he was asking if I wanted to try almond butter instead of peanut. I'm grabbing coffee with Olivia tomorrow. I blinked. My fork paused midair. Olivia. That Olivia. The one who left him 5 years ago and somehow still lived in the shadows of our marriage like an emotional ghost no one wanted to admit was haunting us. I tried to play it cool. Why? He shrugged. Closure. He didn't even look up from his plate. Closure? I echoed like I misheard. Yeah, she reached out a couple weeks ago, said she's in town, wanted to catch up, just coffee. I waited for the laugh. The just kidding. The part where he said I told her no, obviously. But it didn't come, he just chewed. Calm, collected. Like this was a totally rational Tuesday morning announcement. You didn't think to tell me about this before now. I'm telling you now. He said it like he deserved a cookie for transparency. As if informing me, 12 hours before he was planning to sit across from his ex, the one who broke his heart, the one he wrote 3 years of angsty poetry about, was peak emotional maturity. And you're going. Yeah, he said, finally meeting my eyes. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal, I repeated, already feeling my voice edge upward. He leaned back in his chair, suddenly patient. It's just coffee. With the woman who almost destroyed you. He laughed. Oh, come on, that was 5 years ago, I'm married to you. It's not like we're getting back together. That's not the point, Aaron. But he was already retreating, emotionally zipping up. His whole posture changed, arms folded, expression neutral. Like my concern was just a storm cloud forming and he was already waiting it out. I pressed. Why now? Why her? Why this? He shrugged again. I think I just need to close the chapter. You know, tie up that loose end. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You need closure with your ex, but you didn't think to talk it through with your wife first. He sighed. Don't do this. Do what? Make this into a thing. It was the tone more than the words. That condescending calm, that subtle eye roll he didn't even finish, but I felt. I'm not making this into a thing, I said. It is a thing. He didn't respond. Just pushed his plate back like he was done, not just eating, but talking, processing, making space for my feelings. That's all this is, he said, like he was doing me a favor by explaining. A loose end. A loose end? Me, a living, breathing human with a full beating heart, now expected to sit in the corner like an understanding therapist, while my husband met up with the woman he used to dream about. I stared at him, waiting for some flicker of empathy. Some evidence that he saw how casually cruel this was. Instead, he picked up his coffee mug and said, "You're overthinking it." And that's when I knew this wasn't about Olivia. This was about him. About how he still needed to feel chosen by the one who didn't choose him. About how closure, for men like Aaron, isn't about peace. It's about ego. And the worst part, he didn't even realize it. I brought it up again that night. He was on the couch watching some Netflix docuseries about volcanoes. The narrator was explaining tectonic pressure like it wasn't the perfect metaphor for the moment. Aaron, I said, standing behind the couch, can we talk about the Olivia thing? He didn't even pause the show. What about it? I walked around to face him. I've been thinking about it all day. And it's not sitting right with me. He sighed, remote in hand, paused the show finally. We already talked about this. No, I said, you told me you didn't ask. He sat up slowly. Okay. So ask me. I don't want you to go. Silence, not surprise, not confusion. Just a beat of nothing. Then he rubbed the back of his neck and exhaled hard, like I was asking him to amputate a limb. It's not like that, he said. I'm not going to fall back in love with her over an oat milk latte. I didn't laugh. Then why does it matter so much to you? He blinked, because closure matters. No, I corrected. Reopening something matters to you. Closure would have happened 5 years ago. This is something else. He rolled his eyes. God, you're really spiraling. And there it was. The word he always used when I brought up things he didn't want to deal with. Spiraling, emotional, overthinking. I folded my arms. Why is it overthinking to feel uncomfortable with my husband having coffee with his ex? She's not some mystery woman in my phone, he snapped. You've met her. You know the history. Exactly, I said, which is why this isn't just coffee. You were in love with her, she broke your heart. And now she reaches out and you just go. He threw his head back on the couch dramatically. Do you hear yourself right now? Yes, I said, do you? He looked at me like I was performing, like I'd somehow written this whole monologue in advance just to catch him in a trap. You're being insecure, he said quietly. And I don't mean that to hurt you, but you are. I stared at him. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't slamming doors. He was just looking at me like I was the irrational one in the room, like my discomfort was the issue, not his actions. I'm not insecure, I said carefully. I'm setting a boundary. No, you're reacting out of fear, he said. Because you can't handle the idea of me having something unresolved that doesn't involve you. I blinked. Aaron, I'm your wife. I should be involved in what you define as unresolved when it involves another woman. His face hardened. I'm not cheating on you. I didn't say you were, I said. But you don't have to sleep with someone for something to cross a line. He stood up. That surprised me. Aaron rarely stood during arguments. He preferred to stay seated, calm, immovable, untouchable. Now he was pacing. I can't believe you're making this into a thing. Stop saying that, I snapped. You keep calling this, not a thing like you get to decide what hurts me. He turned back toward me. You're twisting this. No, I said. You're twisting me. You're making me question myself for having a perfectly human reaction to something that is a big deal. He stared at me for a long moment. And then he laughed. A short, breathy laugh like I was a child insisting monsters were real. You're exhausting when you get like this. I swallowed hard. He'd said that before once, during a fight over his friend Kara, the one who used to text him flirty emojis until 1 a.m. He said I was exhausting then, too. The word always landed like a slap, because I was never exhausting when I was quiet, never exhausting when I was small. Only when I dared to ask for something he didn't want to give, I nodded slowly. So that's how it is. It's coffee, he repeated. Not a proposal, not an affair, just coffee. If you trusted me, this wouldn't be a thing. That was the sentence that did it, because it wasn't about trust. It was about respect. He wanted me to believe that his desire for closure mattered more than my discomfort. And when I didn't agree, he made it about my shortcomings, my insecurity, my emotional bandwidth. He looked at me like I was the one cracking, and I realized maybe I was, but not because I was weak, because I was waking up. Because I finally saw that the man I married didn't want a partner. He wanted an audience. Someone to sit quietly while he rehearsed emotional self-awareness without actually doing the work. I hope the coffee's good, I said finally, voice flat. He blinked. What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what it sounds like. I walked to the bedroom. He didn't follow, didn't say goodnight. Just pressed play on his volcano documentary. And I lay there alone in our marriage, already knowing I wasn't the only one who'd be losing sleep. I closed the bedroom door but didn't cry. Not yet. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it had something urgent to say. And after 5 minutes of trying not to reach for my phone, I gave up. Opened the group chat. Dramatic women with excellent taste. It was Naomi who named it, Doreen who approved, Jazz who added the first meme, and me, the quiet one who mostly replied with emojis and hearts and the occasional voice note when I had the energy. I hit the microphone button and whispered like I was narrating a crime documentary. He's still going. 3 seconds, release. Then tap and hold again. He told me it's just coffee with Olivia, that I'm being insecure, that I'm exhausting. And now he's on the couch watching Netflix while I'm here, trying not to punch a wall. I let go, waited. Naomi was first. Always first. Voice note. I swear to God, if he says closure one more time, I'll mail him an envelope of glitter and expired yogurt. Jazz, he said what? Insecure? Oh hell no. That's emotional gaslighting wrapped in oat milk. Then Doreen, calm but lethal. Closure is a conversation you have with your therapist, not your ex over overpriced caffeine. And finally, Naomi again, text this time. That's cheating with a latte. I laughed, sharp and sudden. That's the thing about real friends. They don't need to say I'm here. You just know. They show up with sarcasm, rage, and 3 different plans for vengeance, all before you've even asked for advice. I told him I didn't want him to go, I typed. Naomi, and he's going anyway. Me, yep. Jazz, then it's not about closure. It's about control. Doreen, you know what kills me? The way men weaponize calm. Like just because they're not yelling, we're the problem. That one hit me because yes, that was exactly it. Aaron was never loud, never aggressive, just dismissive, cool in a way that froze you out. His version of conflict resolution was emotional amnesia. Pretend it didn't happen, and maybe it didn't. Naomi sent another voice note, this one less fiery, more tired. Babe, you've never asked him for anything outrageous. You've never said don't have female friends or don't go to happy hour or don't breathe near your ex. You just said, this makes me uncomfortable. And instead of listening, he made it about your character. Jazz chimed in with a screenshot from some TikTok account. When a man ignores your boundaries, it's not confusion, it's calculation. I stared at it. I felt like I was floating outside my body. Like I was watching a version of myself try to make sense of someone else's emotional math. Like I was sitting in a marriage that didn't feel like mine anymore. He didn't come to bed. I heard him grab his pillow and settle into the guest room, maybe to give me space. Maybe to punish me with silence. He was good at that. Withholding, withdrawing, waiting me out. But this time I didn't chase him. I stayed where I was, wrapped in my friend's fury and love like a blanket. The chat kept buzzing. Doreen offering to key his car. Naomi suggesting we Venmo Olivia, one cent a day with cryptic messages like, still waiting on closure. Jazz compiling a coffee date playlist with songs like Before He Cheats, Irreplaceable, and Say My Name. It was ridiculous. And it was perfect. It reminded me I wasn't crazy. I wasn't alone. I wasn't asking for too much. I was just asking the wrong person. I didn't mean to go looking for her. But once you hear a name enough times, once it rolls off your husband's tongue with too much ease, it starts to itch. Olivia. I hadn't said it out loud in years. But suddenly it was everywhere. In Naomi's rants, in Jazz's playlist. In my head, Olivia. The one who ghosted him after 3 years, moved to Portland, came back engaged to someone else, and then ended up single again just in time to reconnect. I opened his Google Drive. I didn't have to guess the password. We'd been married long enough that secrets weren't supposed to live behind encryption. It wasn't even hidden well. Just a folder labeled 2017. I clicked it, first photo. A blurry shot of him and Olivia laughing on a beach. Her sunglasses on his head, his arms around her waist. I kept scrolling. Another one, them dancing in someone's living room, her chin on his shoulder. His eyes closed. Then, a selfie. Her in his hoodie. The one I'd almost tossed during a spring cleaning spree, but didn't because he said it was sentimental. I froze. That hoodie was still in our closet. Third shelf, folded beside the one I got him for our first anniversary. He hadn't worn it in years, but he hadn't thrown it out either. I stared at the photos until they blurred, not because they were explicit, but because they were intimate. Not sexual, worse, warm, real, the kind of soft closeness you don't fake. And suddenly I couldn't breathe, because now the coffee wasn't hypothetical, it wasn't just catching up. It was her still here, still folded into the corners of his life like she'd never really left. I slammed the laptop shut and walked straight to the group chat. Me, he still has photos, in a folder, her in his hoodie. Naomi, oh hell no. Doreen's, that's not accidental, that's archiving. Jazz, burn the hoodie, burn the folder, burn him. I didn't reply. I was too busy replaying every time he'd told me I was overthinking. Every time I'd swallowed doubt like it was mine to fix. Every time I'd kissed him goodnight while her face sat quietly in his files. He said he forgot the photos were there. I wanted to believe that. But men don't forget the women who broke them. They just wait to be the one who walks away next time. And something about his smile yesterday, the one he came home with after the coffee, was suddenly too full. Too peaceful, like he'd gotten something back. Or closed something I never got to open. And I realized I hadn't been overreacting. I'd been underreacting. Because the Olivia folder wasn't about the past. It was a breadcrumb trail to a door he'd never fully closed. And now he'd walked back through it. He left at 3:12 p.m. I remember because I watched the clock. I watched him grab his keys, check his phone, and smile at a text he didn't show me. He didn't ask how I was feeling about it. He didn't hesitate, he just said, "I won't be long," and left. Like he was running an errand, picking up milk, getting gas, not walking into emotional traffic with the woman I now knew he'd never stopped looking back at. I sat on the couch for a while after he left, staring at the door like it might confess something. Then I opened the Olivia folder again. Scrolled slower this time, paused on one photo, her asleep on his chest. No makeup, hair a mess. That kind of raw, unguarded closeness you only catch when two people really, deeply know each other. That image haunted me more than any sext ever could, because it wasn't lust. It was belonging, and now he was going to meet her again. For closure, at 5:25 p.m. I heard the keys. He walked in humming. Not a song, just a tune, a hum, like someone who just had a really good day. He tossed his keys in the bowl, kicked off his shoes, and gave me a smile that split my stomach in two. "Hey." I said nothing, just looked at him. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did and chose not to ask. He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, pulled out the lemonade I'd bought yesterday, took a long sip, then leaned against the counter and said, "That went better than I thought it would." I turned slowly. What did? He blinked, the coffee. I said nothing, he filled the silence. "She's doing well, still talks too fast," same laugh. I stared, he kept going. "She's dating someone new, software engineer, lives in Chicago." "Sounds serious," I said, he shrugged. "She says it's new, but they seem happy." I nodded, good for her. He smiled again. I wanted to punch that smile off his face. He looked light, like someone who just laid something down or picked something up. Then, "It was nice catching up." That's what he said, nice. Like it was coffee with an old college buddy. Not the woman who shattered him into someone I spent years trying to hold together. He sat on the armrest of the couch. "Anyway, I think I'm gonna hop in the shower before dinner. Want anything from takeout tonight?" I didn't answer, he didn't notice. He just walked down the hall humming again, and I sat there, hand clenched around my phone, Jazz's message still open on the screen. Burn the folder, burn the hoodie. Burn him, I didn't want to burn anything. I wanted to know, what did she say? What did he say? What came up? What got left unsaid? But more than anything, I wanted to scream, because he walked in smiling, and I couldn't stop seeing her face on his chest. He fell asleep like nothing happened. That was the part that kept me awake. He turned off the light, pulled the covers over us like he always did, kissed my shoulder and said, "Love you," before drifting into a deep, effortless sleep. I stared at the ceiling. It was 12:14 a.m. His breathing slowed into that familiar rhythm. The kind that once comforted me, that told me you're safe, you're home, now it just felt cruel. Naomi texted. He better not be dreaming about her. I didn't respond. I wanted to throw my phone across the room, but I didn't want to wake him. Let him sleep. Let him enjoy the peace he thinks he earned today. Because in his mind, he did the grown-up thing, met with his ex, got closure, smiled, showered, offered takeout. In his head, he was probably proud of himself. I turned toward him in the dark. He looked soft, peaceful, and I hated that I knew that face so well. The face of a man without guilt, not because he didn't do something wrong, but because he convinced himself he didn't. I turned back toward the ceiling. 1:03 a.m., still awake. The Olivia folder played behind my eyes like a slideshow. I couldn't pause. I imagined what they talked about. The laughs. The way she probably tilted her head when she spoke. The way he always said she had sad eyes. Did he tell her that? Did she remember? Did they hug? Did he tell her he was happy? Was she? 2:07 a.m. I checked my phone again. Naomi had sent another text. "Seriously, are you okay? I will come over right now." I didn't reply. What would I say? I'm lying next to my husband, wondering if his heart just time-traveled back 5 years. That the woman who used to scare me because of what she meant to him now scares me more because of what she might still mean. 2:53 a.m. He rolled over and mumbled something in his sleep. I held my breath. He whispered, "Yeah, no, it's okay." I sat up, fully alert, but he didn't say anything else, just sighed and shifted. 3:15 a.m. I went to the kitchen, sat at the table with a cup of cold water and stared at nothing. The fridge hummed. The clock ticked, and the space between us stretched like an elastic band waiting to snap. because I knew tomorrow I'd check his phone. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I couldn't trust this. His peace, his calm, his silence, I needed proof. And I already knew what I'd find. I woke up before him, if you can even call it waking up. I never really slept. Just drifted in and out of that strange place between exhaustion and adrenaline, where every small noise feels like thunder and every breath feels like betrayal. 6:03 a.m. He was still asleep, turned toward the wall. Mouth slightly open, peaceful. My chest burned with questions, and I was done swallowing them. I reached for his phone on the nightstand. He didn't stir, no passcode. We hadn't used them with each other in years. I opened his messages. I knew where to look, Olivia. Her name glared back at me like a slap, like she'd been waiting for me to show up. I tapped. Only one new message since yesterday, but it was enough. It felt real again. I didn't know I missed you this much. I stared at it, one sentence. 15 words, that's all it took to detonate the illusion. My lungs forgot how to work. My skin turned cold. The air became sharp, unbreathable. I didn't throw the phone. Didn't scream, didn't wake him up or storm out of the room. I just sat there, holding the evidence in my palm and felt the floor inside me collapse. Because it wasn't just the message. It was everything behind it, her comfort, her assumption, the way she spoke to him like they had something to miss, and most of all, his silence. No response from him, but he didn't delete it, he didn't end it, and he definitely didn't stop it. Because the real betrayal wasn't in the reply. It was in the invitation. He let her say it, let her feel it, let it live, and then came home smiling. I stood up quietly, walked to the bathroom and shut the door, locked it. Sat on the closed toilet and stared at the message again. Naomi's voice played in my head like a gospel choir. Closure doesn't need emojis. I screen recorded the thread, sent it to myself just in case. Then I deleted the evidence from his phone, just the read receipt. Nothing else. Let him wonder. I didn't cry. I was past that. This wasn't heartbreak. This was clarity. There's a moment when love doesn't break, it snaps. Not because you don't care, but because you've been careful for too long, and suddenly you're just done. He stirred when I came out. Hey, he mumbled. I nodded calm. Morning. He smiled. You sleep okay? Eventually. He kissed my forehead. You're quiet. Just tired. He stretched. I'll make coffee. I watched him walk to the kitchen. The man who once begged me to believe I was the only woman he'd ever love. The man who still had his ex's laugh stitched into his memories and now maybe something more. And I thought, he thinks he got away with it. But the message wasn't for him. It was for me. We were halfway through coffee when I asked, not in a dramatic way, not mid-shout or with tears in my voice. I waited until he was comfortable, until he took that first sip and sighed like he'd earned peace. Then I set my mug down and said, Did Olivia message you after you got home? He didn't even flinch, just blinked once, twice. No, why? Just wondering. He shrugged. I mean, we texted to say thanks, but nothing dramatic. I nodded, stirred my coffee. So nothing like, I don't know, it felt real again. I didn't know I missed you this much. That did it. His eyes froze, mouth slightly open. Only for a second, but long enough. Then, what? You heard me. Silence. I tilted my head. You want to try again, or should I just show you the screenshot? He looked down at his cup like it held answers, then back up. She's dramatic, he said finally. You know that. Do I? She always has been, he said, gaining steam now. She reads into things. I didn't say anything that would make her think we're reconnecting. She's projecting. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because he really thought I'd fall for it. You didn't encourage her, I asked. No, he said, too fast. I was polite. She started getting emotional and I didn't want to be rude. I leaned forward. You let her get emotional, you let her feel something, and you didn't stop it. I didn't do anything wrong, he insisted. You didn't do anything right either. He opened his mouth, but I wasn't done. She said it felt real again. You know what that means? That means she felt connected, close, safe. She's just nostalgic. You're just guilty. He stood now, pacing. You shouldn't have gone through my phone. And there it was, the shift. When they realize they can't deny it, they flip the script. I wouldn't have had to, I said, if I trusted you. He scoffed, you don't trust me now. Would you trust me if I had coffee with an ex, and then they sent that message? That's not fair. It's exactly fair. You're making this something it's not. No, I said. I'm finally seeing it for what it is. He turned toward the wall, then back to me. So what? You're just gonna throw our marriage away over one message from a woman I don't even love anymore. You don't love her, I asked. No. Then why does she think you do? Silence, he ran a hand through his hair. I don't know. Because you made her feel like it was still there, I said. And you didn't care enough about me to stop it. He looked desperate now, like he was grasping for the version of himself he thought he was. The good guy, the honest one, the loyal husband who just wanted closure. But that version didn't exist anymore. Because he didn't just cross a line, he danced on it. I can fix this, he said. You can't, I replied. I didn't cheat. You betrayed me. He shook his head. You're blowing this out of proportion. And that was the final straw, because that's what he always did. Took the sharpest pain I handed him and sanded it down until it looked like drama. I stood up. Stop talking, I said. Just stop. He froze. I walked to the bedroom. Closed the door, not to cry, to pack. I sent one message. Just one, he lied. She messaged him. I'm packing a bag. Naomi's reply came so fast it must have burned through the air. Where are you going? Jazz followed. Do you want me to pick you up or burn the place down? But it was Doreen who called. No text, no emoji, just a ringing phone and her voice the moment I picked up. Come to mine. Now, no drama, no confrontation, no speeches, just leave. She wasn't asking, she was dispatching. Like a mission commander in heels and head wrap. I don't want to make a scene, I whispered. That's why you disappear, she said. Nothing drives a man crazier than a silence he didn't choose. My hand trembled around the phone. He said I was blowing it out of proportion. He also said he needed closure, she snapped. And what he actually wanted was a loophole. I sat down on the bed, surrounded by folded jeans and emotional debris. I don't know what to do. You don't have to know, she said. You just have to go. I didn't ask how she always knew what to say. That was Doreen's gift. She'd been through the fire before. A 3-year relationship with a man who lied with smiles and gaslit with logic. She knew the signs. She knew the wounds. She also knew the exits. I'll put clean sheets on the couch, she said. Naomi's bringing tequila. Jazz is already in the group chat planning a dramatic playlist. I laughed, actually laughed. Why are y'all like this? Because you let us, she said. And because we don't let women bleed out over men who write off betrayal as a caffeine accident. I zipped my bag, left a note on the dresser. No tears, no explanation, just, I needed to be heard, you needed to be right, so now you can be both. Alone. He wasn't home, I didn't wait for him to be. I walked out, locked the door, got in my car. And drove. Doreen's apartment smelled like shea butter and cinnamon. The living room lights were dimmed. There was already a blanket and pillow on the couch, and a mug on the table that said, men lie, but my eyeliner won't. Jazz arrived with chips and guac. Naomi brought patron and rage. We didn't dissect everything that night. We didn't need to. They knew what I left behind. And they knew that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't screaming or posting or calling his ex to start a war. It's leaving, with silence, with dignity, with a village behind you whispering, he'll feel this more than you ever could explain. The first night away, I didn't check my phone, not out of strength, out of necessity. I knew the second I opened it, his name would be there. His number, his excuses, his panic. And I wanted one night where the world didn't orbit his guilt. So I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, wrapped myself in Doreen's impossibly soft blanket, and let Naomi pour tequila like it was medicine. Jazz queued up the playlist, songs you can cry to without losing dignity. First up, Solange, Cranes in the Sky. I didn't cry, I didn't even blink. I feel nothing, I whispered. Doreen nodded. Good. That's the beginning. Because it wasn't numbness. It was clarity. The kind that only comes when you've stopped trying to be the therapist, the translator, the emotional life raft for someone who refused to meet you halfway. I didn't text him. I didn't leave breadcrumbs, I just vanished. Day 1, no messages opened. Day 2, I muted him. Day 3, I blocked him, not because I was done, but because I was starting. He didn't know that yet. He was still in the early phase, the disbelief stage, where silence is an inconvenience, not a consequence. Doreen handed me her spare keys and said, stay as long as you need. Naomi cleaned out a drawer in the bathroom. Jazz restocked the fridge like I was moving in. "This is your temporary witness protection," Naomi said. "Until you feel like coming back with a flamethrower or a peace sign. Either's fine." That night, Doreen made us pasta. We ate it on the couch, watching How to Get Away with Murder, cackling every time a man got destroyed. I was mid-bite when Naomi's phone buzzed. She raised an eyebrow. "Speak of the devil." She put it on speaker. Aaron's voice filled the room. "Hey Naomi, can you please ask her to call me? I know she's with one of you, I just need to talk to her." He paused. "I didn't mean to hurt her, I just thought. I don't know, I thought she'd understand." Another pause. "She always understands." Then he hung up. We stared at the phone. Jazz rolled her eyes. That's what he's counting on, that she'll understand. Like it's her job to explain his mess back to him. Naomi picked up the phone and muttered, "He had closure. Then you're the ending." I laughed hard, the kind of laugh that shakes something loose in your ribs. Doreen grinned. "You're glowing." "I'm pissed." "You're glowing." And she was right, because this wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't revenge, it was withdrawal of grace, of presence, of explanation. And for a man like Aaron, that's what hits hardest. Not being yelled at, being ignored. The morning of day 4, my phone rang 5 times in a row. Not from him. From his sister, Maya. I stared at the screen for a long second before answering. Her name alone already told me the situation had shifted from ego to emergency. "Hello. Where are you?" she asked. No hello, no preamble. "Why?" "Because he's spiraling." I didn't say anything. "He's not eating. He left work early yesterday. He called my mom crying. He's called me crying." I said nothing. "He thinks you left for good." "I did," I said, voice calm. "He just didn't believe I would." Silence, then she sighed. "Look, I'm not calling to guilt trip you. I'm calling because I've never seen him like this. He keeps asking me if I think you'll come back." I pressed my fingers to my forehead. "Did he tell you why I left?" She paused, sort of. "Did he mention Olivia?" Pause again. "Oh." "Yeah," I said. "Shit," she whispered. "Exactly." Because Maya knew, maybe not the details, but she knew her brother, knew how charming he could be, knew how selfish he could get when his pride was bruised. "He said it was just coffee," she offered weakly. I smiled bitterly. "Did he also tell you what she texted him?" "No," she said, "but I'm guessing it wasn't a Yelp review." She said it felt real again, that she missed him. Maya groaned. "What an idiot." "Yeah." "Do you want me to yell at him?" "No." "Want me to key his car?" Tempting, but no. "What do you want me to say when he calls again?" I paused. "Nothing," I said. "Nothing. Let him sit in it." Because for the first time, Aaron didn't get to spin the narrative. Didn't get to walk around like the wounded victim of an overreacting wife. Didn't get to use his soft tone and logic puzzles to talk his way back into good graces. He had to face it. The space. The absence. The silence he once weaponized now turned on him. Later that afternoon, Naomi's phone buzzed again. Voicemail, his voice. "Please just tell her I'm sorry, I get it now. I know I should have listened. I should have taken her seriously. I didn't think it would go this far." Then I didn't think she'd leave. That was the part that hit me. Not the apology, the disbelief. He didn't think I'd go because he thought I'd never go because I'd forgiven before. Let things slide. Chosen peace over confrontation. Made excuses. Explained his behavior to myself until I sounded like a lawyer defending a client I didn't believe in. But I was done with that. Naomi threw her phone on the couch. "Is he serious? He's sorry now. After minimizing you, ignoring you, and practically skipping home after his coffee date." Jazz chimed in from the kitchen. He thought this was going to be another argument he could win by being the calm one. Doreen folded her arms. He thought silence was strength until you went silent. Now he doesn't know what to do with the void. Exactly, because men like Aaron know how to debate, how to logic loop their way around feelings. But they don't know what to do when you simply walk away. Without yelling, without crying, without warning, just gone. So now, he was unraveling. The way I had, alone in our bedroom, reading that message over and over again. The way I had when he called me insecure, exhausting, overreactive. The way I had every time he gaslit me into thinking my feelings were a problem he didn't need to solve. Now the problem was his, and I was gone. It was a voicemail that pushed her over the edge. We were in Doreen's living room again, Jazz repainting my nails like we were at a sleepover instead of a marital exile. I was sipping ginger tea, pretending peace. Naomi's phone lit up. Another voicemail, another from Erin. She didn't ask if I wanted to hear it this time, she just pressed play. I don't know how else to get through to her. Can you please just tell her I love her, that I messed up, that I didn't mean to hurt her? She's everything to me. I haven't eaten. I can't sleep. I need her to come home. Silence, then his voice cracked. Please. He hung up. Naomi stood up so fast, the blanket she'd been wrapped in hit the floor. That's it. She grabbed her phone, walked to the center of the room like it was a stage, and spun around to face me. That is it. Jazz raised an eyebrow, Doreen smirked. Oh no. She's about to monologue. Naomi pointed at me like I'd wronged her. Why are you even considering feeling bad for him? Why are you sitting here all quiet and calm and nice? He lied. He emotionally cheated. He disrespected you. And now, because he can't handle consequences, we're supposed to what? Feel sorry for him. I didn't answer. Naomi didn't need answers. She needed airspace. This man took your grace, your patience, your loyalty, and handed it to his ex. He let her say it felt real again and just shrugged. Then he came home like he'd just had a great day at work, smiling, asking about takeout. She paced now, voice rising. And now he's leaving voicemails, now he wants to cry. Now he wants to say he can't sleep? You know what that is? That's regret without responsibility. That's panic because you finally chose you. Jazz clapped quietly. She's been bottling that. Naomi kept going. I remember when he ghosted you for 2 days after that fight about your job offer. Remember that? We all told you it wasn't okay, and you said, he's just overwhelmed. No, babe. He was emotionally unavailable, and you gave him space instead of standards. I swallowed. Naomi softened just slightly. You loved him loud, and he punished you for it, called you dramatic when you had feelings, dismissed your intuition every time you were close to the truth. And now that you've gone silent, he finally hears the alarm. She sat down beside me, not mad anymore, just raw. You're allowed to be angry, she whispered. You're allowed to not feel bad for his breakdown. You're allowed to stay gone. And then, softer, you don't owe him the comfort of your explanation. That was the part that cracked something in me, because I'd been sitting in that exact place, between guilt and self-preservation, torn between proving I wasn't cold and protecting myself from someone who only felt the loss when it affected him. Doreen passed me her drink. You okay? I nodded, and I meant it, because Naomi was right. I had loved him loud. But now my silence was screaming. I went back on a Thursday, 3 days after Naomi's snap, 2 bottles of wine later, and exactly 1 week since I left. Not because I missed him, but because I needed to stand in that house and feel nothing. I didn't tell him I was coming, didn't send a warning text or ask if he'd be there. I just unlocked the door and stepped inside. The lights were off. The living room was dim. One lamp on, her hoodie, crumpled on the couch. He was there, sitting on the floor, not the couch, not a chair. The floor. Back against the wall, knees up, arms limp at his sides like someone who'd given up on pretending to have control. When he saw me, his breath caught. Like a man watching a ghost walk through the door, I didn't speak first. He did. I thought I lost you. His voice was hoarse. He hadn't shaved. His hair looked like it hadn't seen a comb since Tuesday. Good. I wanted him undone, not out of cruelty, but because that's what it looked like on the other side. Every time he minimized me, I unraveled in silence. Now he could feel the threads come loose himself. I stood in the doorway a moment longer. Then I said, you did. He flinched like I'd slapped him. He started, but stopped. I walked past him, sat on the couch. Slowly, carefully, like I was sitting in someone else's home. He turned toward me, kneeling now, hands open. I've been going crazy, he said. I've called everyone, your sister, your mom. You don't get to bring them into this, I said quietly. Not when you wouldn't even bring me into your coffee date. His mouth opened, closed, I waited. Let the silence do the work. He sat back on his heels. I messed up. I raised an eyebrow. That's new. I didn't think. No, you didn't care. I didn't mean. Stop. I leaned forward. I am not here to listen to another version of the same speech. His eyes welled. Please. For what? His voice cracked. A chance. No, I said. You had the chance when I said I was uncomfortable. You had it when I told you Olivia still lived in your memory like a song on repeat. You had it when I stood in the kitchen with tears in my throat, asking you not to go. He bowed his head, I didn't stop. You had it when she messaged you and you said nothing. You had it every time you told me I was overreacting instead of asking why I was hurt. His shoulders shook. I sat back, and then I said the thing that finally broke the last thread. I thought you'd ask me how my day was going after I told you not to go. I thought you'd text me once while you were out. I thought you'd come home and notice that I wasn't okay. He looked up, tears now, real ones. And I didn't feel satisfaction, I felt done. I'm not here to yell, I said. I'm not here to beg, I'm not here to fix anything. Then why are you here? He whispered. I stood up, and I said, to get my things. He didn't move when I said it, didn't flinch, didn't protest. Just sat there, knees folded under him like a child in timeout, eyes blinking slow as if his brain couldn't keep up with the moment. To get my things. I said it once, clean, sharp. And then I turned toward the hallway, that's when I heard it. Not a word, a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. I turned back. He was crying, hard, like nothing I'd ever seen from him. Not when his father passed. Not when he lost his job during COVID. Not when we fought for weeks about whether we were ready to start a family. He didn't cry then, but he cried now, when I was done. When my hands were empty of effort. When my silence wasn't strategy, it was resolve. I didn't think you'd leave, he said through his tears, voice warping. And there it was, the root of all of it. He never believed I would. Because I'd forgiven before. Because I'd stayed after smaller betrayals and quieter lies. Because I'd absorbed every slight and every dismissal and turned them into reasons to try harder. I walked back into the living room, not to comfort him, but to look him in the eye. He was curled slightly, like grief had become a weight. Why now? I asked. He looked up, lost. What? Why are you crying now? He opened his mouth. Closed it, I knelt in front of him. You didn't cry when I said it made me uncomfortable. You didn't cry when you called me insecure. You didn't cry when she said she missed you and you said nothing. You didn't cry when I walked out the door. I know. You're crying now because you're losing control. He sobbed harder. I broke something in you, he whispered. No, I said, steady. You didn't break me, you broke your own mirror. You just didn't expect me to stop reflecting what you wanted to see. I stood, walked to the bedroom, started folding clothes. He followed, standing in the doorway. Please, he said again, wiping his face. Please don't go. I already did, I replied. You just didn't notice. That shattered him. He sat on the bed while I packed, held my sweatshirt like it was a relic, watched me as if by memorizing every move, he could undo what came before it. I love you, he said. I know, I said. But love isn't enough when respect isn't present. He nodded, didn't argue, and for once the silence wasn't cruel, it was honest. I zipped the suitcase. He stood. I thought he might reach for me, beg again, collapse, but he didn't. He just whispered, what do I do now? And I looked at him, not with hate, not with pity, just clarity. You sit in it, I said, like I did night after night, year after year. You sit in the space you created, and you learn what it means to lose someone who begged you to choose them before they chose themselves. Then I left, and for the first time I didn't cry either. I didn't block Olivia right away. Not because I wanted to see what she'd say next, but because I wanted to decide what I would. It wasn't about anger anymore. It wasn't even about Aaron. It was about ending a chapter without handing anyone else the pen. I sat in Doreen's kitchen the morning after I moved my things out. Jazz had gone home. Naomi was at the gym, texting me memes between squats. Doreen was somewhere in the apartment humming along to Beyoncé, and I was staring at Olivia's name on my phone. Her last message still sat there, unchanged. It felt real again. I didn't know I missed you this much. I didn't need context. I didn't care how she meant it. What mattered was that she said it to a married man. My husband. A man who invited the past into our present, smiled through it, and only flinched when he realized I was gone. I tapped her name, started typing, paused, deleted, typed again, paused, until the sentence that lived in my throat finally came out clean. Closure doesn't need emojis. I hit send, then blocked her, then him, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Some people deserve the silence you once spared them from, And sometimes, your final act of love is simply walking away without the performance. I stared at my phone, the quiet humming louder than any of Aaron's apologies. And for the first time, the word closure didn't make me angry. It made sense. Because closure isn't coffee with an X. It isn't a text at 3 a.m. begging someone to come back. It isn't tears at the edge of a bed you only appreciated when it was half empty. Closure is a one-line message to a woman who should have known better, and a block button that seals it shut. It's friends who refill your cup and your spirit without asking for explanations. It's waking up in a home that isn't yours and realizing you feel more at peace there than you have in years. It's putting your phone down and knowing no one can reach you unless you want them to. Closure is the clean break, the final boundary, the full stop, and I gave it to myself, not with revenge, but with release. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.